Bluff City, a small town on the banks of the Mississippi River, has long been known for its peaceful atmosphere and endless cotton fields. But when night falls, mysterious legends about this land begin to whisper through the wind. The people here, who have lived for generations, always avoid mentioning Desolate Road, a small road leading out of town, where terrifying stories have been deeply ingrained in people's minds. According to the story, on a full moon night hundreds of years ago, a group of migrants passed through Bluff City. They set up camp near the riverside woods and decided to rest before continuing their journey. However, the next morning, all of them mysteriously disappeared. Only footprints remained leading deep into the small road, which people later called Desolate Road. The first hunters to come to this area said they heard whispers in the night, as if the missing people were still calling to each other. Since then, no one dared to set foot on this road after sunset. In 2024, Alex, a young reporter, was assigned to Bluff City to investigate the horror legends there. With a passion for exploration and a disbelief in supernatural phenomena, Alex saw this as an opportunity to create an attractive report that would attract attention from the online community. He brought along a camera, a flashlight, and an old map with faint directions to the deserted road. When he arrived at Bluff City, Alex met Mrs. Marie, a 90-year-old woman who lived in an old wooden house near town. Mrs. Marie was one of the last survivors who had witnessed the horrific events related to the deserted road. She advised Alex not to enter that road, but the stubbornness of youth made him ignore it. "What do you think you will discover? What lies hidden there is not for humans to discover," Marie whispered, her cloudy eyes flashing with fear. On a full moon night, Alex decided to begin his journey. He followed the path leading to the deserted road, each step sinking deeper into the thick fog. The trees on both sides of the road stretched out like skinny arms, forming a dark dome. The air seemed to grow heavier, and Alex began to hear strange sounds, laughter, crying, and people calling his name. He turned on his camera and began recording everything. Through the lens, Alex saw blurry figures flitting through the fog. At times, he felt like someone was following him, but every time he turned around, there was only endless darkness. As he walked deeper, Alex came across an abandoned house in the middle of the forest. The front door was ajar, and inside, the walls were covered in dried blood. On the table, an old diary lay open, with the words scrawled. "We made a mistake coming here. They don't want us to leave. If anyone reads this, come back before it's too late." As soon as he finished reading, Alex heard slow footsteps coming from the stairs. He turned, his flashlight shining on the rotten stairs, where a blurry figure was looking down. It was a woman with a disfigured face, white eyes, and a terrifying smile stretching from ear to ear. Alex ran out of the house, but the path had disappeared. Instead, he was surrounded by a dense forest with no exit. The whispers were getting louder now, echoing throughout the space. A giant black shadow appeared behind him, with sharp claws dragging on the ground. Alex tried to run, but with each step he sank deeper into the ground. The camera falls to the ground, and the last image is just the creature's horrifying face, before the screen goes black. The next morning, Marie found Alex's camera on her doorstep. When she turned it on, she found only fragmentary footage of his journey. No one could find Alex, and the deserted road was once again shrouded in mystery. A few weeks after Alex's disappearance, Bluff City is in an uproar when a group of paranormal investigators arrives. They are a team of three: Mike, a tech and machine expert, Lisa, a psychic, and Ethan, the team leader with over a decade of experience investigating mysterious disappearances. Fueled by curiosity and the footage left on Alex's camera, the group sets out to find the truth about Ruined Road. The town of Bluff City greets the strangers with suspicion. Marie, the only survivor who witnessed many of the horrific events, warns them, just as she did Alex. "You don't understand. This isn't just a road. It's a gateway to something much worse. And if you're not careful, you'll open the door to things this town can't stop." But Marie's warning only makes Ethan more determined. "If there's something, we'll find it. And this time, we'll record it." That night, the group began to enter the waste road. Mike's equipment kept malfunctioning. GPS signals were distorted, flashlights flickered, and the air seemed to thicken, as if everyone was entering another dimension. Lisa, with her psychic abilities, sensed a strong presence around them. "We're not welcome here. Something's watching us." While Ethan ignored the warnings, Mike tried to repair the equipment. Through the EMF detector, he noticed an unusual increase in energy levels. A cold wind blew by, carrying a whisper that was clearer than ever. "Go, go, go, go." Around midnight, they reached the abandoned house that Alex had visited before. But this time, the house looked completely different. It was no longer rotten and deserted. The light from oil lamps flickered through the windows, and the sound of footsteps echoed from within. Ethan decided to go in first, despite Lisa's protests. Once the group was inside, things became eerie. The walls were covered with strange images. Eyeless faces, deformed creatures, and even Alex's image, but his eyes were empty and bloody. Lisa suddenly felt dizzy and fell, her eyes widening as she saw a tall figure standing in the corner of the room. It was the woman Alex had described. A distorted face, a smile stretching from ear to ear, and eyes lifeless. Ethan turned the camera on, but when he turned back, the woman was gone. "This is not where we should be," Lisa whispered, her voice trembling. "We are trespassing on something older than anything humans can understand." In the basement of the house, they discovered a large door locked with rusty chains and strange symbols carved into the wood. Mike used his tools to break the lock, but Lisa shouted, "Don't! It's a seal!" Too late, the door swung open, and a blast of cold air poured out, carrying with it screams of pain. A dark room appeared, covered in blood and handprints on the walls. In the center was a bottomless well, with spiraling stairs leading down. Ethan, unable to resist his curiosity, decided to go down the well. Mike and Lisa reluctantly followed. As they went deeper, the light grew dimmer, and the whispers grew louder. It was no longer a language they could understand. It was a primal sound, like the screams of tortured souls. At the bottom of the well, they found a strange object, a black stone coffin engraved with ancient symbols. But before they could do anything, the coffin began to shake. The coffin lid slowly opened, and a giant black shadow emerged, taking the form of things that humans could only see in nightmares. The black shadow was more than just a creature. It was the embodiment of fear, pain, and death. It swallowed the surrounding light, turning everything into a living nightmare. Ethan, Lisa, and Mike tried to escape, but the black shadow followed them closely, as if it had marked them from the moment they entered. When they returned to the surface, the desolate road had changed. It was no longer a simple path, but a dead-end maze, where every corner led them back to the starting point. Lisa was the first to disappear, leaving only an echoing scream. Mike tried to fight, but the black shadow tore him apart as if he were nothing more than a thin piece of paper. Ethan, the last survivor, decided to use his camera to send one last message. "If anyone finds this footage, never set foot in Bluff City. What lurks here is more than a legend. It is real, and it will not stop until it has devoured everything." The next morning, the townspeople found the group's camera outside Marie's house. No trace of the investigators was found. However, from that day on, Bluff City was no longer a peaceful place. Strange dreams began to haunt the residents. The waste road seemed to spread, and those who dared to enter never returned. Marie, the last person to understand the truth, could only mumble in her final days, "We let it loose, and now it will never stop." According to old records kept by Marie in her house, the curse of Bluff City began in the 18th century, when a group of European colonists settled in the area. They discovered a sacred area that the natives had always avoided, a place called the Abyss. This was an ancient portal that, according to legend, connected the human world to the dark area, a place where entities that did not belong to this world existed. The colonists paid no attention to the warnings of the natives. They exploited the land, removed the sealing rituals, and built a large house right on that area. the same abandoned house that Alex and Ethan's group had explored. However, after a few years, horrifying events began to occur. Livestock died in large numbers, children went missing, and a giant shadow often appeared at night. According to legend, this entity is called Umbra, an ancient, formless entity that embodies fear and despair. Umbra does not kill its prey outright. Instead, it eats away at their minds, leaving them in an eternal nightmare, becoming puppets that wander the forest forever. When Ethan's group breaks the seal, Umbra is once again unleashed. But this time, it is not limited to the ruined road. The darkness begins to spread throughout Bluff City. Townspeople report seeing shadows pass by their windows at night, leaving strange marks on the walls, scorched handprints, bloodstains, and inexplicable symbols. Strange dreams become common. One villager named Thomas reports being pulled down an endless pit in his dreams. At the bottom of the pit, slender, hideous arms reached out, dragging him into a sea of darkness where the screams echoed endlessly. Marie, the only one who understood the situation, tried to find a way to seal Umbra away once more. She searched the records of her ancestors, who had helped the natives perform the first ritual to trap this entity. Umbra was no ordinary entity. It did not exist in physical form, but was a form of living energy, able to change shape based on the victim's deepest fears. Umbra had no fixed form. When it was present, people often described it as a giant, faceless shadow with glowing red eyes, or long black tentacles that crawled across the ground. When it approached its victims, Umbra would transform into personal nightmares. Images of dead loved ones, terrifying creatures from the subconscious, or themselves in a distorted, horrifying form. Umbra does not attack physically. It weakens the victim's mind, putting them in a state of constant hallucination where they cannot distinguish between reality and illusion. When the victim is completely defeated, their soul is sucked into Umbra, turning them into wandering shadows in the area it controls. According to ancient documents, Umbra has a weakness: light from an ancient gemstone called sunstone obsidian. This stone was once used by the natives to seal the entity, but the only stone was lost when the colonists invaded the area. Mrs. Marie decides to contact an old friend, Professor Henry, a historian and archaeologist who has studied Bluff City and its legends. After looking through her notes, Henry realizes that the sunstone obsidian may be in a museum in New Orleans, mistaken for an ancient piece of jewelry. Henry and a small group, including Marie, decide to leave Bluff City to find the stone. But as soon as they leave, Umbra seems to realize their intentions. The strange dreams are no longer limited to Bluff City. They begin to spread, haunting Henry's group, causing them to lose their bearings and lose their spirits. Meanwhile, Bluff City is in chaos. The people haunted by the shadow gradually disappear. Some are found wandering the woods, mumbling nonsense, their eyes blank as if they have lost their souls. Others are never found. A small group of people decide to seal the ruined road themselves, but every time they try to approach, the shadow appears, swallowing all the light around them. In the town, the whispers grow louder, echoing through every street. Henry and Marie finally find the Black Sunstone. They return to Bluff City, which has become a ghost town. With the help of the ancient records, they began the ritual to seal Umbra. On the fateful night, as the ritual began, Umbra emerged in a gigantic form, roaring with rage. The group faced their greatest fears, but with the light of the black gem, they successfully sealed Umbra once again. The abandoned house burned down completely, and the ruined road gradually disappeared from the map. But Bluff City never recovered. The survivors left, and the town became a forgotten land. The Umbra sealing ritual took place in a stifling atmosphere, as the light from the Black Sunstone gradually dispelled the dense darkness. Henry, Marie, and the last survivors of the group fought with all their might. Ancient incantations echoed, mixing with Umbra's screams, creating a monstrous storm of energy. Umbra, in its gigantic form, struggled to resist. Black tentacles swept through the air, breaking through all obstacles, and attacked the participants of the ritual. One person was pulled into the darkness, and their screams disappeared immediately. Henry, the keeper of the Black Sunstone, was almost knocked down but used the light to protect himself. Marie, with trembling but determined hands, stepped forward. She placed the Black Sunstone on the ceiling altar, an ancient stone structure once used by the natives to trap Umbra. With a last effort, she shouted, "Return to where you belong. This is not your world." The light from the black gem flared up like a solar flare, burning away Umbra's darkness. Screams of pain echoed throughout the forest before everything fell silent. But the price was too great. Marie, who had played a central role in the ritual, was heavily affected by Umbra's power. When the light faded, she fell, her eyes closed with a gentle smile on her lips. Henry knelt beside her, whispering his thanks, knowing that she had devoted her life to protecting Bluff City from this nightmare. The abandoned house that had been the center of the curse suddenly collapsed, leaving only a deep hole leading into eternal darkness. The ruined road, once again, disappeared from the map. But no one could be sure if Umbra had truly been sealed forever, or had just retreated temporarily to wait for another opportunity. Bluff City became a ghost town. The survivors, haunted by the terrible memories, decided to leave. The town gradually faded into oblivion, becoming a scar on the map. No one dared to mention it. Henry, the only one left with the black gem, decided to hide it in a safe place where no one would find it. He spent the rest of his life studying entities like Umbra, hoping to find a way to seal them away forever. Years later, a group of young explorers stumbled upon old records of Bluff City. They were fascinated by the mysterious stories and decided to explore the area. None of them realized that the darkness was still smoldering, just waiting for another fire to ignite. On a moonless night, in the place that used to be the ruined road, a cold wind blew through. In the darkness, a pair of red eyes flashed, and the familiar whisper began to echo again. "Here we come. We are still waiting." Bluff City, though it has disappeared from the map, is still a warning. There are mysteries that should not be explored, and there are gates that should never be opened.
Thanks for listening to today's story. Let us know what you think. If you want to hear more scary stories, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode when we upload it. We'll always be here and welcome you.